Hey there, this is Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. It's a podcast about making things up and making things happen. I love creative people. I think art and creativity make life worth living, make the world go around, and I love talking to people who do creative things. Today, my guests, I have two of them, are Ruston Harker and Eric Seppala. They are both friends of mine. They are both part of the Xana crew of people that I met in the last year that love Xanadu. It's weird. We've talked about it. I won't. You know about that if you listen to this podcast. But anyway, they both have a similar side passion, which is they've created Instagram accounts involving dolls. Ruston's is called Doll Decree, and he uses Barbies and AI and other forms of technology to create these little funny vignettes, these little bite-sized zingers, and they're really cool and kind of glamorous, and I love that they're just like bite-sized, like little funny, barbs. And then Eric's is called Olivia Newton-John is a Doll. That's the whole Instagram title, and it pretty much explains what it is. He recreates the looks of Olivia Newton-John using Barbies and other dolls when it's other characters apart from Olivia. He's done the Muses in Xanadu. And so they both have these side passions on Instagram involving dolls. So we talk about that. We talk about dolls. We talk about Barbies. And we talk about Christmas a little bit. But before we get to the interview, I want to remind you that this podcast, Dennis Anyone, is brought to you by me. I do it because I love it. But if you want to support it, help me pay my bills, I would love that. There are two things you can do. You can go to DennisAnyone.net and leave a tip in my virtual tip jar. I really appreciate that. There's also a thing on there called Buy Me a Coffee, which I always love. Always makes my day. And the other thing you could do is become a subscriber to DNR Studios. I'm part of a group of shows under the Derek and Romaine podcast banner. And for a monthly fee, you get my show early, and you get all these other great fun shows. And you also get the occasional dog bark from Enzo. So there's that. All right, enough of the plugs. Here now is my conversation with Eric Seppala and Ruston Harker. Joining me now from Los Angeles via Zoom are two of my friends from the Xana crew, which I say that I can barely get it out without giggling. Eric Seppala and Ruston Harker, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Hello.
All right. The first voice you heard was Eric. The second was Ruston, just so folks can keep things straight. Now, we are part of the Xana crew, fans of Xanadu that came together this year, and we have luncheons. We have plans. 2025 is going to be a big year. We have jackets. Do you guys feel like the pink ladies a little bit?
Yes.
What happens when you wear your jacket in public? I always get compliments.
I wore mine in Palm Springs last weekend. And I was attacked in a Denny's, and I was attacked on the street, actually, too, while I was getting gas. So it was very exciting. They're like, where'd you get that?
Yeah, I have to have it. Because the jacket, for the fans of the movie, it is very much matches the jackets you see at the end of the movie. I think Michael Beck's wearing one, right? Or is Olivia? Are they both? But yeah, and Ruston, you spearheaded the jacket project. So thank you for that. And you nailed it.
Yeah, well, I definitely had help. My coworker here, Kira, she went through and was meticulous on the color of the jacket and the color of the threading and the placement and the size. And
yes. And Kira, was named after Kira in Xanadu. She was a fan before she existed. That's amazing. Anyway, so apart from loving that movie, you guys have another thing in common, which is that you both have passion projects on Instagram involving dolls. So Eric's, yours is called Olivia Newton-John is a Doll, and it's recreating all of Olivia's iconic looks using dolls, Barbies, other dolls. I'll get into that, the specifics. And Ruston, yours is called Doll Decree, and it's little animated videos with, I think they're all Barbies or in the Barbie world, saying funny, pithy, insightful things and looking fabulous. So, Ruston, I'll start with you. What gave you the idea that you wanted to express yourself in this way? What inspired you to start this Instagram?
Well, since I was a kid, I had a fascination with Barbie, and just before the pandemic, I actually joined a Barbie club here actually it's up in Ventura County, and in the pandemic, I got into Instagram, and all my friends in this club were posting pictures of their dolls. And on Instagram, and I wanted to do something like that, but they did it so well. I was like, well, I want to do something different than just posting photos. And May the 4th was coming up, and I had this newly, it had just come out. It was the Princess Leia Barbie.
Right on.
And I wanted to do something with her, and I had kind of dabbled with this face mapping app. It's an app that you can take photos and it will map the face of this photo and it will match it to the movements of your own face. So you can make videos of the picture moving its mouth and stuff. And so I thought, oh, it would be fun to do a Princess Leia saying her, "Help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope," video for the 4th, for May the 4th.
Of course.
And so I did that, and I'm like, wow, what if I could do other doll videos like this saying funny things? And that just kind of became my creative outlet and passion project during COVID. That's what kind of kept me sane.
Well, they're very elegant looking, and they're very pithy, and they don't overstay their welcome. They say something funny, and then they get out, or kind of like something kind of askew. And then you're like, oh, that was delightful. Now, where do the photos come from? Do you find them? Do you take them?
So at first, it was dolls from my own collection. I would take photos of them, and then it gave me an excuse to go out and buy more dolls because I had to.
Because you need to increase the cast, right? You can't just replay old things.
But then, it finally dawned on me. Oh, I don't actually need to have the physical doll. I could have, pictures from my friends' dolls. They could just send me pictures, and I could use those photos. And then eventually I started using AI to come up with I could
a backdrop, let's put her in, the Palm Royale set or something like that. Yeah,
exactly. Because my original, when I was taking pictures of my own dolls, they would kind of look wonky because they would just be up against a wall in my home and the lighting wouldn't be great. And but with AI, I could take care of all of that in one swoop, have the background, have her outfit, have the exact doll that I wanted.
Right.
With a few keystrokes. And
for your project, AI works because it doesn't have to look realistic. It can be a little heightened, It's got that aesthetic. How about the voices? Where do you get the voices from? Because they're different voices. You have Ken's.
Originally, I would just kind of find stuff on YouTube I would look up funny things that celebrities have said and use those voice clips from there. And then I started going out to my friends and having them re-record funny things and send it to me on my iPhone or whatever. And I started collecting a stable of my actors who I would send out things to, and they would send them back to me. But that would still take a day or 2 or 3 to get those things moving around. But then again, I finally ended up with AI.
Right.
And I use a program now where I can just type in what I wanted to say, and it comes back within seconds.
As a voice.
Yes.
You could say Southern drawl. You could give it wow, surfer dude kind of voice, whatever you want.
A British accent.
Yes.
A Valley girl.
Right.
All of that. And if it doesn't quite do the acting job that I want it to do, I can record my own voice, my own inflections into it, and it will spit it back out to me with the British accent or with the Valley Girl voice. Or
you could give it a line reading. Directors are never supposed to give line readings, but you can literally do that, and then AI will futz it up for you and make it good. Wow, yeah. That's awesome. Eric, how did your whole thing start? Olivia Newton-John as a doll. What was the first, inspiration for that?
Mine was also a passion project for the pandemic. We were all told to go home in March of 2020 and never leave again.
Right.
I was in a bubble of one. So I was trying to find ways to amuse and entertain myself in my house. And I was revisiting all the things I loved as a kid. And I wasn't allowed to have Barbies at all. That wasn't even on the table. I had to fight for every female action figure I ever had. So that's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing.
I wanted to talk
show.
about this with both of you, and now you brought it up. Let's mention it. I had older sisters, and they had Barbies that they had outgrown that were in our storeroom, and I wanted desperately to play with them. And I knew I couldn't, and I knew it was bad, and I knew it was shame. I knew I didn't. Yeah. But I would accidentally play with them a little bit here and there. I still remember.
Accidentally. I
was just sort of like, oh, they were around, but I was super into it. But I knew there was shame attached to it, even before I knew what sexuality was, before anything. But I remember, and Ruston, you're a Barbie expert. You will know what this is. The mermaid dress that's got tulle in it that's black, and there's a rose. Margot Robbie did it on the red carpet. I remember my sister. Spotlight.
Yep.
It's iconic, and I just thought it was so glamorous, and it captured my imagination, and I still remember that outfit. So anyway, were you allowed to play with Barbies, or were you able to, Ruston, as a kid, be in that world?
My parents weren't quite as strict as Eric's. I did have like a Wonder Woman doll, kind of, and they bought me a Skipper doll.
Interesting.
Wow.
Barbie adjacent.
With the understanding, it was like, I don't remember having this conversation, but it was known that I only played with it when I was by myself in my room. I couldn't like bring it with me to family outings or like to school or play with it with friends. It was just kind of my own little secret.
Skipper is your little secret. Wow.
Yeah. All right. Dirty secret.
Your dirty secret. So isn't it interesting? Yes. Gay boys and dolls. So Eric, you decide you're in the pandemic. You're like, okay, maybe I will recreate an ONJ look. What was your first one? What was the first thing you did?
Well, the first thing is I had the 4 that were made from the Grease film.
Olivia Newton-John dolls. Yeah.
Yeah. So they actually did 4 Barbies, and I was sitting there thinking, why didn't they ever do, I had the Cher doll, I had the Cyndi Lauper doll, they did other Barbies, and I'm like, how come they never made another Olivia? So I really wanted to do the classic physical video,
of course,
leotard and headband and everything. So I thought I'm going to do that one. And while I was trying to, unlike Ruston, who to me seems like a scientist, and I want to like, collaborate with him. And I'm very much arts and craftsy and like found objects and things like that. So I was searching on the internet to find the perfect little leotard or the perfect shoes or, those things. And while I was researching that, I thought I found other things because I didn't know that much about Barbie.
So this isn't perfect for physical, but boy, does this look like blank, right?
Yeah, suddenly I was like, well, I'm going to get that too, because maybe I'll do the Totally Hot cover.
Of course, iconic.
Because if you love me, let me know. I'll do 10 and then cut it off.
That's it, 10 and I'm done. Forward, 10 and I'm done.
Suddenly it's December, and I have about 50 that I've done. And they just blew up, and I was so excited by how easy it was, because Barbie's blonde and Olivia was usually blonde, and it wasn't that much of a stretch. So I went in that whole mode of like, remember way back when it was like Barbie is a stewardess, Barbie is a CEO,
veterinarian or whatever. Yeah.
So I was like, in my world, this was Barbie is Olivia. So it was Barbie dressed up in an iconic Olivia clothes.
So at the beginning, they were Olivia heads from those original dolls, and then you started. No, they were always Barbie heads.
Yeah, the hardest thing was to find hair that matched her look. So I would surf eBay to find the Barbie that had the close, wherever the part was, or if she had bangs, or if she had. So I didn't use many of the actual Barbie Olivia dolls. Most of mine are Barbies.
Well, the details that you nail, first of all, Stranger Touch video, one of my favorite Olivia non-single songs, the best. And just you got the dolphins from the dolphin song. You've got her on dolphins. Like, for both of you, are there ever moments in the process where you're like, am I insane? What's happening? Like, have I lost my mind? Or also, this is so joyful, but also, am I crazy? Do you have those thoughts?
Yes, I have those thoughts every minute of my life. But I actually, for this project, though, I was really honoring, we're talking about the shame around dolls and things like that. During the pandemic, I really went back to everything that used to make me happy. And I really wanted dolls. I had action figures and all these things, but I wanted the characters that I loved. And so this was honoring little Eric. And not only was there shame for me around dolls from my family, there was shame around Olivia Newton-John. People gave me a lot of shit for loving her ever since I was a little tiny soprano boy singing along with Have You Never Been Mellow, all the way up through, you know, my high school days where I was supposed to be Maud and also into jazz and things. People are like, what's that?
Yeah.
And I thought, let's honor that. And
let's honor all of it.
Yeah. And just I healed that wound, and it was great. So it was just total joy, but also I submit to the craziness. I know it seems crazy to a lot of people.
Yeah. What about for you, Ruston? Do you have moments where you're like, I am so into this, and it's just like what moments where you question like your sanity?
So my projects were, when they started out, they were just like these tiny little clips, like less than 10 seconds. And as I grew to learn how to use technology and use video editing systems and all that stuff, my projects and my visions became bigger and bigger, and to the point now where if I wanted to do a video, the production value of it is just so big and grand that I just know it's going to take like a week or two of work to get this video launched. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is it worth it?
Right.
And yes.
It's always worth it. Yes, we need it. Yeah, I know.
Your winter break should be spent just doing that so we all can see it. I love it.
That's the question I ask about a lot of the creative things I do that aren't, you know, particularly lucrative. But but you do it because better than not doing it. For both of you, is there a project that you really feel like creatively it was like a chef's kiss where you're like, man, I nailed that? Eric, I have an idea for yours, but I don't know if you would agree. You did all of the muses in Xanadu. I feel like that's an epic achievement. It was one of the hardest ones too, but you all inspired me to do that. The Xana Crew, really. I cannot hear the word without laughing. I can't hear the word Xana Crew without laughing.
It's part of my vocabulary now. Trust me. And I say it and people start laughing. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's not a real word.
How do you know him? Oh yeah, he's part of the Xana Crew. It is a vernacular thing now. So, but it tickles me to no end. So you were inspired to do the.
You all did that. You inspired me to do that because I thought, you know, the 45th anniversary is coming up.
That's right.
And plus, this was a departure from Olivia. I couldn't use Barbies for this one. I had to use her friends, or I had to use different colored hair and stuff. So asking the 8 muses, you know, was the difficult part, finding the dolls I could use, because otherwise it would look like I had a whole bunch of Olivias again.
Right, exactly. They had to have different faces.
Yeah, that was super fun. Super fun.
By the way, you brought those to the last meeting of the Xana Crew, and we were all enchanted. And you set up a little tableau. You did the poster. Was that a Kinko's strip? Like the mural behind, or more high-end?
I have a friend who did that for me. I can't mention them or where they did it because they get in trouble.
For sure. That's it. That's what you do. You get sneaky. But is that what's one that you feel like creatively was a real triumph for you? I mentioned that one, but there may be others that come to mind.
There were a couple because it was difficult to curate all the pieces I wanted, and one of them was a photo that Olivia did when she was promoting Physical, where she's got a baseball cap and a mitt and a tennis racket and all this gear.
Right.
And it took about 3 months for me to find all those pieces. And when I did, I was like, wow. And then another one was from the video, The Rumor. She has this jacket that has this specific beading.
Yeah, it's the denim jacket that's very bedazzled.
It's a black jacket with all these like hearts and weird, like very, very 80s shapes on it. So, you know, those little triumphs, because they take me forever to do. So
amazing. Ruston, is there one that you feel like creatively you're really particularly proud of?
I have a few that I really love. The one that just comes to mind is it started with a dinner in Disneyland. I was having just dinner with 2 friends at Disneyland, and we were finishing up, and my friend Mickey.
Different Mickey, not the mouse.
Correct.
Okay.
And we had dinner, and after dinner, he was like, well, let's have dessert. But, you know, desserts at Disneyland are these very large.
They're like a parade. They're literally a parade on your plate.
Yes, a float of
I like it.
And he was like, well, what what if we get one and split it 3 ways? Oh, that sounds good. But like, which dessert do we get? Well, as long as we're splitting it 3 ways, why don't we get 3 different desserts, and then we can just eat 3 different desserts and split them 3 ways, and we'll still be like not eating. So I did a whole video of these 3 women who are like finishing their dinner, and they're like, well, what should we get for dessert? And if we split it 3 ways, it'll be like 1/3 of the calories. Oh, well, since as we're saving, that much on calories, well, why don't we get 3 desserts? But wait, why aren't we having? So they figure it all out, and so you did that
with 3 different dolls in one scene.
I did it through AI.
Right on.
I did the voices through AI, and I just love it because it came from originally from that one conversation that I had at Disneyland with a friend, and then it just turned out so well in the end that
and you got to share it with your friends who are there, probably, who are like, oh, now we're this thing.
Yes.
Inspired this thing.
Yes.
Yeah. You said there were others. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
It's very Sex in the City, right?
Yeah.
You have your characters come to life with your friends.
I love that. You said there were others that you were particularly proud of. Do you want to mention those, Ruston?
Oh, sure. Like when I was a kid, I used to envision doing music videos in my head. I would listen to my music and just picture what the music video would look like. And so doing these doll videos has kind of captured that. I've had the opportunity to go back to some of my favorite songs and kind of make these snippets of music videos. And there's this one I did for an a cappella group. It's this college group that do an a cappella version of Creep.
Right.
And I used all these hard rock Barbies to do this a cappella version. And just the way I edited it together, I'm probably the top viewer of that video. I've just watched it over.
I love that you're your own most of your own watches. With working with AI, do you ever program something in and you think it and it just comes out crazy? Like, oh, that's not right. Like, does AI ever give you things that are almost grotesque, or she has 2 heads? How did that happen?
Oh, definitely. Oh, the images. Absolutely. I'll put in something and sometimes they'll have an arm growing out of their waist, and the fingers is always it's going to be.
It's all about the fingers with the AI.
Thunderdome. You never know what you're going to get. And sometimes I'll get halfway through the video and I'll notice that her eyes aren't looking the same direction sometimes, or she'll have these weird growths and stuff. And I'll be like, how did I miss that?
Yeah, Eric doesn't deal with that stuff because he uses real dolls, right?
Some of those dolls, though, I order a doll on eBay.
Some of them are looking in wrong days.
Some of their eyes look a little wonky too.
Oh my gosh! So I would love to know from both of you what's stuff that has come out of doing this, kind of unexpected stuff. Because I think Eric, Olivia got to see what you were doing, right?
That's right. Yeah,
tell that really story.
Once I got about 40 dolls made, a friend of mine, my friend Donnie Hall, is friends with Olivia's assistant of many, many decades. And he and my other friend Jane, Guy, said, "You've got to get these to her. You've got to show them to her." So I made a photo book, and it was December of 2020, and she was in a difficult stage of her life then. So I really didn't expect anything. I just thought, I want to make her smile. That would be so cool. I mean, There's this dumb little thing I've been doing. Wouldn't that be cool if she saw it and smiled? And the following June, it took a while, and I got an email saying she loved them. It was from Dana, her assistant.
Right.
She absolutely loves this book. Can you please send a couple more copies? She wants to give one to her stylist, Floor Feitmeyer, who's been with her forever, and a lot of the looks I copied, obviously. And
you're honoring him as well, clearly. Everything they put
absolutely.
together, he's seeing miniature versions of it. It must be such a trip.
And she sent it back and autographed, and then Dana reached out again. And, every year Olivia has her Olivia Newton-John Cancer Wellness auction.
Right.
And they have Julian's auction. And they asked if they could auction off autographed copies of these books. And they sold. And Kira in our Xana crew actually met a woman who bought one randomly. And she only handles it with like kid gloves and everything like that. I mean, I'm just amazed that like the fact it got to her was just a full circle moment. And I just was like, I didn't expect that at all. So it was really, really fun and cool.
Are there other things that have come out of it?
I've met you all. I met
right.
Ruston, which is crazy and lovely. I have lovely new friends that I adore. Also, I had these social media pages now that have reached people all over the world. I guess some of my things are being shown in other museums. Like there's a Olivia Newton-John museum, I guess, in Brazil, and they asked if they could show photographs. I haven't monetized these in any way, and I think it might kill the joy if I was ever to start selling them or creating them on spec. But I do think I'm going to probably eventually donate them to the Olivia Newton-John Cancer Wellness, and then they can do whatever.
They can do whatever. How many do you
have?
They
can auction them. Oh my God. Probably 100. With all the muses and everything, I probably have about 100 now.
Well, the cool thing about Olivia is she was such an early pioneer of music videos, so there's lots of images of her. Obscure thing. Like you did the Silvery Rain video, which was like
I did all
non-single from physical, and there's like props and huts that you built. I'm like, oh, this is a deep cut, and he is giving it to us. He's serving it.
Well, that album had a video for every song. So I did all those videos. Every video she's made, I think I've done the doll for. There's a couple looks I still haven't done that I'm going to.
Ooh, what's on the agenda? What's next to look forward to?
She had a lot of beautiful, very cutting edge looks in the 70s that I didn't really know that much about at first. One of them is a beautiful pink pantsuit she wore on the Totally Hot tour. And also from Xanadu, I want to do the look that she does in the black and white 1940s movie when she appears on television. I want to find a way to create that little scenario set as well. So she was a fashion icon, a music icon, and she's been in my life ever since I remember being conscious. So there's such a wealth of inspiration there. And people love her. The people who come on these social media pages are just, it's loving. It's not cruel. They don't criticize. It could be
nobody has a bad Olivia Newton-John story.
No,
she is,
and we all try to emulate, I think, what her spirit, it lives on in a lovely way. So.
I think that's awesome. Ruston, what's something that's come out of what you've done that may have surprised you?
Well, I have done a few, like where I did a music video and the artist has liked them.
That's awesome. What was the artist?
Well, I think I did one with Delta Goodrem. And she played Olivia Newton-John in the Life Story. And then Freddie Kurji, who was the lead singer in Sheriff or Alias. I can't remember. I get the two.
Those are like rock. That's like rock, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
I did one of his songs, and he liked it as well and wanted me to send it to him. And but like early last year, our friend Bill Morgan had a Xanadu birthday party.
Right. And, this was before I was in the mix. That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't lay awake at night crying about that.
This is when it started, kind of. Right.
Yeah. He had this birthday party, and so for his birthday, I decided, I'm going to do some videos for him, some Olivia Newton-John videos, and so I did. I tried to recreate the looks and have her saying like something from each of these looks from the film, and then through that party, that's when I met this guy who has this Olivia Newton-John is a doll Instagram page that I told everyone about.
Right.
And the rumor was he lived like close to where I work, and then I got to meet him at the party, and then it just kind of brought all of these like-minded Xanadu fans together.
It's so silly and so beautiful, but here's why I think it is powerful. The movie has a nice spirit, like a wonderful, uplifting, optimistic spirit. But also, I think if you loved it when you were younger, you felt like it was just your thing. Like it wasn't like Grease. It wasn't a phenomenon. you think you kind of thought it was just yours. So when you grow up and you're like, oh, you're obsessed too. You know every word. Like, oh, it's a kind of a cool thing to bond over, I think, because you thought it was just your thing.
That's so true. I thought I was pretty much the only person who loves Xanadu in my circle of friends and family that I knew of.
Right.
And then like when I met Bill and Kira,
yeah,
it's like, wait, she's way beyond me.
She brings a lot to the table in terms of, research and information and like passion. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's like
and everyone's so
DNA
nice
or something. Yeah.
Everyone's really nice. I'm going to bring up a Christmas question for you guys because it is going to be the episode that goes up over Christmas. What gift do you remember vividly getting? Do you remember a gift you got in your life where you're like, oh, wow?
Mm-hmm. I do. I mean, I was very, very little. I grew up in the 70s, as
right.
I think we all did. I was obsessed with H.R. Puffin stuff, but specifically Witchy Poo.
Right.
And witches. I loved witches. I loved Margaret Hamilton. I was like 3, when
and you were already down with the bad girls.
Oh, please. I got them. I understood them. So I begged. They had this beautiful, we all probably know it, this beautiful
right.
Witchy Poo doll that was made. It was now worth, I don't know how many thousands of dollars. And I got that. I begged for it. I got it for Christmas. Our chimney wasn't wide enough for Santa Claus, so we always put things in the hallway and said Santa Claus used the front door. But I woke up Christmas morning and there on top of the Milton Bradley Witch game was sitting my beautiful Witchy Poo doll. And my mother had to restore it a little bit because it was the last one at Toys R Us. And she sort of had to mend the cape and she put real keys on it and all these things. So that was like, that was just the Christmas to end all Christmases for me at that time.
That's amazing to me. Like the thought that went into it and I just love that. That's beautiful. What about for you, Ruston? Is there a gift you remember getting vividly?
There's actually a few.
All right. I like it.
I took some quick notes.
Okay, good. I like that.
So Stretch Armstrong, I had him.
I interviewed Bill from the Xana crew, and he wanted one, and there was a whole story about how he snuck it and looked at it early, and his mother found out, and then he didn't get it. So he never got the Stretch Armstrong. The Xana we should all go in and get him one if they exist. Anyway, he had it for 10 minutes, rewrapped it, and then he never got it again.
Oh, God.
Heartbreaking. But you had one. Oh, they probably fall apart. Yeah, but you had it.
Yeah, the rubber probably would fall apart ultimately, but mine only made it. I can't even remember how long, but I wonder how if I stuck a pencil in him, I wonder if he would actually pierce his skin, and it did.
Yeah,
and then this red goo from inside.
Oh my gosh!
Out, and once it hardened, it was like cement, and it just got everywhere, and that was the end of
Stretch Armstrong. Was really like a cautionary tale in how to manage toys. Wow. All right. Yeah. And was there another one?
I also had they were called Shogun Warriors. They were like these robots.
Yeah.
And one actually shows up in the Wonder Woman Christmas special that she did, the television series.
Oh, that's
where
cool.
She went to the toy master. Yeah. And he had this Shogun warrior called Dragon there. And I loved him. But probably my favorite, the one that kind of jumped out first off was, it was a Winnebago, like a trailer.
Yes. It was like, I had that. Yeah. It was like a Tonka thing.
Like vinyl, yes. And I think the door was like a flap on the back.
Yep. And there were 2 little figures that came, remember?
Yeah. And I've seen people repurpose those as planters, and I'm enchanted by them. Yeah, I think I had that too.
Oh my God. The adventures I went on.
Yeah.
With that Winnebago. Whew.
I remember the G.I. Joe voice of the Mummy. It was the one with the Mummy. It was when the G.I. Joes were still bigger. They were bigger than... They were like Barbie size, not like whatever. And you
were butch.
I was very butch. They had that kind of hair that was like like
flocked. It was like flocked hair.
Yeah, and it wasn't just plastic. It was like something going on there. And
if you bent his arm, he would get a bicep.
Maybe.
And he had this metal band around that you would put around his arm, and you bent his arm, and his bicep would burst the metal band.
Wow.
That's kind of hot.
That's so hot. I love that. You guys, everyone needs to go check out their Instagram page. Ruston, yours is Doll Decree, right? DOLL.
Oh, can I tell you where that comes from?
Yeah. Doll Decree. DECREE.
I was trying to come up with a doll name for my account.
Yeah.
But like kind of all the good ones have been used out there. Like I wanted to do Xanadol or but I love Xanadu so much that I wanted to have somehow incorporated. And there's this poem from the movie.
Yes.
In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I that's where doll
That's
decree
where
comes from.
It's in our DNA.
It's so delightful and so silly. I laugh every time I say anything around it. And Eric, yours is Olivia Newton-John is a doll, all spelled out.
That's correct. And that's figuratively and literally. She is a doll.
It's true, and it's
literally
true.
a doll.
Yeah. What's been your most popular post? The one that people like the most?
Mine?
Yeah, for both of you.
The ones that mostly the more recent ones actually that I did of of her memoir that came out recently.
Yeah.
It's also the images. I think the images resonate sometimes, but I think that one did really, really well, as did just the generic physical, all the album artwork that I did from that physical album cover, which I love as well. That was the first one I wanted to do.
That was when her short hair kind of coming out of
I wore my hair just like her in high school, the blonde pompadour, and everyone's like, cool, man, you look like Daryl Hall or David Bowie. And I said, sure.
Did you do the headbands? There was a lot of headbands happening.
Headbands I didn't do, but I wore my hair like how she wore it in Two of a Kind and on the physical tour and all that stuff. So.
Right. I love that you do deep cuts, like Two of a Kind songs. You've got Take a Chance. I almost was late to this interview because you had Tuta La Vita from The Rumor playing in one of your things. And that's one of my favorite songs of hers. And I just kept listening to those vocal licks when she would do that growly part of her voice. Like, I was just like sublime. And I'm like, oh, I gotta turn on the equipment. Okay, here we go.
I love that. Pure joy.
Pure joy. Ruston, what's a post that went over big with your following?
I did a Gem in the Holograms one.
Perfect.
Where I used the original dolls, and then they transform into the Integrity dolls that came out a few years ago.
Okay.
Integrity Dolls did a line of Gem and the Holograms. That one went pretty well. But I also did this collaboration with a doll collector from Norway.
Oh, interesting. I love that you did a collab.
She has a huge following. And so I did these, it was a series of 4 of this girl who's kind of emo and goth. And just because it was a collab with those like were in the tens of thousands of views.
Right on. Very cool.
Yeah. So
I think we need to do a collab.
A collab. I think the collab needs to happen between you guys.
You need to bring my dolls to life.
Yes.
They need some animation, I think.
Yeah, I can do it.
All right, it's going to happen.
Let's get into development. We'll go into the development.
2025.
Exactly. It's a big year. Great things are happening politically. I think it's going to be really exciting for everybody, which is why we need things like this. I just did a thing yesterday where it was like a year-end recap session with a friend of mine who does that kind of coaching stuff. And I was like, the Xana Crew was like a big highlight of 2024. And so thank you guys for that thing. It's silly, but it delights me to no end. And people are jealous. They want in on it. They want the jackets. It's a whole thing. Here's my final thought. I've done some research in the past few years about the science of happiness and what makes people happy. And one of the things that I think about a lot is engagement, is something that they think is, if you're engaged in something, it makes you happy regardless of the outcome. It's the engagement is the win, right? And I bet you guys think about that when you're putting your time into these things and the hours. Like it's the doing is the reward, right? It's having something that you're that into. So I guess I'd like for my final question for you guys to talk about what it's meant for you in your life to have this passion project that is just done out of love. You know, no one's going to give you a 13-episode series on Netflix. Like, it's just something you do because you love it. And I would love to hear you guys talk about what that means to you to have this.
Exactly what you just said. I mean, that's kind of the lesson I learned through this Olivia project, was that it came out of, there was no expectation of anything coming out of this. And this actually ended up getting to her, as well as probably reaching more people than I've ever reached doing anything else. And it had nothing to do with compensation. It had nothing to do with getting something or going somewhere. It was just a real lesson in, like, enjoy what you're doing, regardless of where the destination is. Enjoy the ride. You know, just stop and look around and enjoy the view. And if you like what you were doing the whole time, who cares? You know, where it goes or what it ends up. You've spent time really in a joyful state of mind.
I love that. What did she write in your book when she signed your book?
Well, let's see. I have it right. Well, she signed two.
Oh, she signed two.
Well, I had to remind myself. It says, "Dear Eric, what an amazing book. Chloe and I loved playing with Barbie so much when she was young. It must have taken so much time and love. So appreciated. Never thought I'd see anything like this. Love always, Olivia Newton-John." Wow.
Fantastic. And we all know her signature because we've seen it. Ruston, what is having your Instagram feed pastime brought to your life?
So these videos take, you know, I've streamlined so I can do them a lot faster, but they still take some time to produce them. And I reached a point where I was feeling guilty that I was spending more time on these videos than I was, like watching movies, or I would come home and I have all these streaming services that I just never watch because I'm making my videos, and I'm like, am I spending?
Right. Is this what I should be doing with my time? I think about that a lot with a lot of the things I do.
And so I was talking to my therapist about it, and he's like, Ruston, never, like, you should always choose creativity over something passive. You're creating something, Ruston.
Yeah.
That's good. You should. And so, having this account has just made, like, the sky's the limit for stuff I can create, especially now with AI.
Yeah.
I can just pretty much create anything. It's just giving me the freedom and liberty to actually play again, play with dolls in a new way.
Yeah. That may be the title of this episode, Playing with Dolls in a New Way. Do you like it? Do we agree on that? Do we sign off on it?
Sure.
There's no Xanadu tie-in, but maybe there is somehow if I'm not thinking about it. But you guys, thank you. This was delightful. I hope everyone follows their feeds. Doll Decree and Olivia Newton-John is a doll. And happy holidays. I'm looking forward to 2025 with more Xana ventures. Is that a word? Does that work as a word?
Yes.
It's a reach. It's a bit of reach. It doesn't flow off the tongue like Xana Crew. That's
and yet
sure.
I understood it completely.
All right. You guys are so awesome. I'm so glad we are connecting in this way. It's awesome. So happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, Dennis.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Ruston Harker and Eric Seppala. Find them on Instagram, Doll Decree, and Olivia Newton-John is a doll. All right, so this happened. It's award season build-up here in Los Angeles, so there are lots of screenings that you can go to. And I went to one the other night that I am still thinking about in a way. It was a movie called Better Man, which is about the life and career of Robbie Williams from Take That, and also a huge solo artist. I'm a big fan of Robbie Williams. He was never super huge in the U.S., but I love him. I love his music, and so I was very excited to see this. It's directed by, I believe the man's name is Michael Gracie. He directed The Greatest Showman, was his previous film, and which was a big sleeper hit a few years ago. And it's very, he does this thing in it, which is Robbie is not played by an actor. It's played by an ape. Like, it's an actor acting it all out, but he makes the character a monkey throughout the whole movie. And it worked for me. I appreciated it. I think I kind of got into it. I think it's effective in a way, the way it's used in the movie. And there was a Q&A afterwards. Guillermo del Toro, the director, moderated it. And Michael said that if they weren't going to do the monkey thing, they wouldn't have done it. It wouldn't have been worth doing. So it's very interesting that that was their choice. I think it worked for me. But there are things in the movie that I love so much. There are 2 musical numbers that are spectacular. There's a bunch, but there are 2 that I wanted to stand up in my chair and cheer. One is a romantic duet to the ballad She's the One on a yacht that just took my breath away. It is so beautiful. The actress who is the dance partner to Robbie's character is gorgeous and a beautiful dancer. And then there's another number that tells the rise and the whole sort of rise of the band Take That in one 5-minute song. Like they tell their whole story. And it's to the song Rock DJ, which is just a jam by Robbie Williams, but it's shot in this iconic street in London. I don't know the name of it. It's iconic. You would know it if you saw it. It kind of curves around. It's just like, oh, that's clearly London, right? And in the Q&A afterwards, the director said that it took a year of trying to get permits to get London to let them shoot on this street. And so they could only have it from certain times in the night, and they had to be out at a certain time. So they planned this whole sequence out meticulously. And let me tell you, this is a complicated sequence. There are all kinds of dancers and moving vehicles, and they go inside and they outside, and it's just a lot. And he said that they plotted the whole thing out in a warehouse near London because they couldn't rehearse in the space, and they had it all figured out. And the night before they were going to shoot, Queen Elizabeth dies, and the shoot is canceled. Like, they can't. There's no way. They can't do it. And not only could they not do it then, they couldn't come back in a week. They had to go through the whole thing of the next coronation. Like, that was delayed by weeks, if not months, had to go by. And it looked like maybe they were going to have to kill the number, and the director was like, we are not going to kill this number. So they came back months later, redid the whole thing in the warehouse and the choreography and the whole thing, and they did it. And let me tell you, once that thing is out on DVD or streaming, I am going to watch that number over and over again. It is so electric. Just like I wanted to stand up and cheer. The other little details from the Q&A, which I loved, was the director said that during The Greatest Showman, he had his choreographer, a gentleman named Ashley something, I don't remember the last name, but the choreographer would walk with the camera operator during some of the musical numbers, literally with his hand on the camera operator's shoulder, helping him move so that the movements would match the choreography and capture what they wanted. And for the new movie, Better Man, the choreographer actually learned how to operate camera. So the camera operator during some of those big musical scenes is actually the choreographer. That's how specific the vision was for these dances and these movements. I don't know if he was the camera operator for the whole movie, but definitely for these numbers. I just thought that was so interesting. And there was another moment in the Q&A that I can't stop thinking about, which is Guillermo del Toro was moderating it, and he's a big champion of the movie. And he sort of said this sentence. He said that Hollywood is one 24-hour buffet of disappointment. And I was like, that lands. And also, Guillermo del Toro has Oscars. Like, he makes a ton of stuff. He has Oscars. And if it's a 24-hour buffet of disappointment for him, oh boy, I don't know. But in spite of all of the disappointment and the 24 hours of it all, they still get to make wonderful movies that we all get to enjoy. And I've been having a lot of fun seeing cool movies at the end of the year. So keep an eye out for Better Man. I really was into it. And there you go. All right. Before I let you go, I want to share something festive with you. 2 of my past podcast guests, Matt Zarley and Kathy Deach, have gotten together and recorded a really fun cover of Kelly Clarkson's Under the Mistletoe. It's upbeat. It makes me feel all Christmassy. And so they said I could play it for you guys as we head into the holidays. So here it is, Matt and Kathy with Under the Mistletoe. I sounded just like Casey Kasem right then.
Every time I look around this room, my eyes, they tend to fall on you, and I confess, nothing but you make sense. Memories fill my heart, and I can barely keep my tears from falling. Oh, I want your love. Do you ever think of us? Is it too late to open up? I'm dying
everything I try to keep you from getting inside. Works until I see your face. I linger hoping you might stay. Wrapped up in your arms is where I want to spend my night. So hard how much I want you.
Do you think of us?
How I want your love. To let you know I can't quite escape how much I need you. You're walking towards me now. Push my pride aside when I close my eyes. It's just you and I. Magic fills the air, standing over there. Stands I hear my prayer. You're walking towards me now. Won't you read my mind somehow? Meet me in the middle underneath a little bit of mistletoe. No indecision, take a breath as I push my pride aside. When I close my eyes, it's just you and I. Magic fills the air, standing over there. Hear my push my pride aside, aside, aside. It's just you and I. All I want is you. Here under the mistletoe.
Merry Christmas, everybody, and we will see you after the holiday.